You know the holiday season rolls around, and with it comes one of the biggest traditions we have, giving gifts. It just feels timeless, right? Like it's always been a part of the celebration. But what if the story we think we know is missing, the first few thousand years?
Seriously, what if the whole idea of swapping presents in the middle of winter has almost nothing to do with Christmas itself? That's exactly what we're going to dig into. We are going to peel back the wrapping paper of history and find a story that's way older and honestly a lot more interesting. Because it turns out, our modern habit of holiday gift-giving, it didn't start with Christmas. Not even close. It actually evolved from these ancient practices that were all about survival, social duty, and just marking that symbolic renewal of the world during the darkest, coldest time of the year.
So to really get this, we have to go back to the original purpose of a gift. It wasn't about making someone feel warm and fuzzy. It was about holding society together. Let's take a look at how this whole exchange thing became the glue for entire communities.
Think about it. In the earliest human societies, a gift wasn't just some nice-to-have gesture. No, it was a tool. It was a structured social contract. Giving a gift created an obligation. Receiving one meant you were officially part of the network. This is how you built trust, kept your alliances strong, and literally made sure your community was going to make it.
And I mean, the shift from then to now is just, wow, it's dramatic. Originally, the whole point was social obligation, and it was driven by the raw need for the community to survive. It was this structured, reciprocal system. Today, it's pretty much the exact opposite. It's all about expressing our personal feelings, and we see it as this voluntary, celebratory thing we choose to do.
And this right here explains why winter was the key. People weren't giving gifts because they had a ton of extra stuff lying around. They were giving gifts because winter was a serious threat. Exchanging practical things, food, fuel, maybe some tools, that was a collective survival strategy. It was a promise that said, we are going to get through this darkness, and we're going to do it together. Okay, so how did this very practical act of exchange get tied to a specific time of year? Well, that's where the first real holiday prototypes come into play, the ancient winter festivals.
You've got two major influences that really stand out. Over in Rome, you had Saturnalia. This was a party where all the social rules got flipped upside down and people gave small, symbolic gifts to bring everyone together. But then you look at Northern Europe, and their Yule gifts were way more serious. They were ritual objects, things you swore an oath on that acted like pacts or protections against the supernatural world.
You can totally see the echoes of Saturnalia in our traditions today. It's incredible. It was celebrated in mid-December. Check. It was all about celebrating the return of light after the solstice. Check. And crucially, it established this idea of giving small, symbolic gifts to strengthen social bonds, not to show off how rich you were.
But for those Northern Europeans, the act of giving was just more intense. A gift wasn't just a friendly exchange between people. It was a way of negotiating with the forces of fate, with memory, with the ancestors. It was a powerful tool you used to try and secure a little stability and favor from a world that often felt pretty hostile.
Okay, so now we have these two powerful traditions kind of running side by side, the social gifting of Rome and the much more ritualistic gifting of the North. The next big chapter in our story is all about how these old customs got absorbed and were given entirely new meanings.
But hold on, before we get to that, it's really important to remember something. This whole idea that you have to exchange material objects to mark the winter solstice, that's not some universal human instinct. Actually, some cultures did something completely different.
Just take a look at ancient Iranian traditions. There was no focus on presents at all. Instead, the celebration was all about community and endurance. It was about gathering together, sharing food and poetry, and literally staying awake through the longest night of the year to symbolically fight back against the darkness. It just goes to show you, our way is just one of many.
So, when Christianity began to spread across Europe, it kept running into these deeply rooted winter traditions. And it didn't try to get rid of them. Instead, it did something much, much smarter. It absorbed them. It just aligned its own holidays with these older, really powerful rituals that people were already practicing.
And this is where the meaning does a complete 180. That ancient practice of giving gifts, which was all about reciprocal social duty, you give to me, I give to you, it gets recast through this new moral lens. All of a sudden, it becomes an act of voluntary generosity, a symbol of Christian charity and humility. Its cultural significance was totally transformed.
And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most dramatic transformation in the entire story. How in the world did we get from ancient rituals and moral charity to the massive commercial machine we know today? You can really see the journey in 3 distinct stages. We started with gifts as a practical tool for community survival. Then, they got reframed as these moral acts within a religious context. And finally, they became what we have today, a form of commercial consumption that we use to express private emotions and, let's be honest, social status.
So what pushed us into that final stage? Well, it was 2 massive historical forces. First, the Industrial Revolution, which suddenly made mass-produced goods cheap and available. And second, the rise of modern advertising, which basically taught us that the best way to show someone you love them is to buy them something. The focus shifted completely from the community to the individual consumer. And yet, even with all of that change, the ancient roots are still there. Our holiday gift-giving is still, as our source material puts it so perfectly, deeply rooted in humanity's response to winter, uncertainty, and the need for collective continuity. Those old instincts are still there, shaping our modern habits.
So the next time you're wrapping a present or you're watching someone open one, just think about this long, incredible history. Is your gift an echo of a Roman gesture of unity? Maybe a northern oath of loyalty? Or is it just a simple, ancient promise to help someone you care about get through the dark? What story will your gift really tell?